and welcome to Conversations with Jolene. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience at the shopping centre. So I always find it so interesting now that I've learnt so much about food. So a little bit about me, I'm a health and wellness coach and researcher and educator, and I have two sons with food allergies. So that journey has taken me to all kinds of levels of research, and I'm one of these food detective. So whenever I'm in the shopping centre and the supermarket, I'm always reading labels and working out what's in things. And that has been a fascinating and educational experience, to say the least. So I want to share some of these things because I think you'll be shocked by some of the things that you learn. I know I certainly am, and I still get surprised. Like even today, I was looking at some organic meat. I didn't end up buying it. So I always like to try and buy the best because particularly organic, because I know that it's been cared for the most. So the organics in our country, in Australia, they have the most rules. So to me, that's the cleanest food that I can find. And when I say clean, I mean food that has, not as many preservatives or additives or things like that. But even some of the organic food I'm finding is not what I thought it was going to be. So look, I just want to share this information because this is not stuff that you learn at school. And if I didn't have children with allergies and I wasn't interested in health, I wouldn't know any of this. So listen up. So, I bought these corn chips. And look, we're not perfect, but I just try and buy the best food. So I sort of work on the 80-20 rule. So 80% good food and 20% either sometimes food or just, food for fun. So look, I don't mind a corn chip. The boys love corn chips with guacamole. So this is the Byron Bay company here, and it says no palm oil, gluten-free and non-GMO corn. So this was the best corn chip I can find. It was about $4. And look, there's other brands there, but when you look at the branding here and it's like saying no GMO corn and no palm oil, the first thing I think of is what's in the other ones. And I know for a fact that the other corn, a lot of that is GMO. So look, I'm not into genetically modified organisms because they mess with nature. So one of the things that I've learned on my journey is the least unhealthy that we are, so the more sick we feel, the more tired, the more anxiety, the more stomach issues, whatever we've got going on, headaches, migraines, you name it, is how disconnected we are from nature. And our food supply and what we're eating is disconnecting us even more. So if you are going to eat this convenience, sometimes food, you want to at least make sure it's as clean as possible. So this is non-GMO corn. So that's really important because your body doesn't recognise GMO food. Despite what the government says, there's so many researchers and scientists now that have proven that GMO food is basically Frankenstein food. So if you don't believe me, then do your own research on that one. What else have I got here? So organic tin tomatoes. Now look, I'm not a huge fan of food in tins, but sometimes you do need to have a few little backup things. So I usually just buy maybe one tin of tomatoes, and this is certified organic. So that's the best I could find. And it's just got tomatoes in it and tomato juice. There's no other numbers, there's no other flavors, there's no MSG. So yeah, while I'm talking about MSG, let me just show you here. So when you're thinking of buying crackers and crisps and some of these convenient snack food for kids, which we all know that they love, you really want to buy the plain. And I know it's a bit boring, but you'll just have to make dip or something else to make it more flavorful. Because when you look at the ingredients of this one, for example, it's just rice, vegetable oil, and salt. But if this was the chicken flavor or the seaweed flavor or the barbecue flavor, as soon as you're adding flavor, you're getting MSG. And what we know about MSG is MSG affects children. It also affects adults, but mainly in the kids, you'll see things like behavioral issues. I know for my kids, if they eat too much MSG, they start to get a bit silly. They also get this thing where it blocks like the receptors in the brain and they can't stop eating. So they're just hungry, hungry, hungry. It's like, for example, I remember one day my son Oscar had some KFC chips and he was probably only about 2.5. And we went to KFC, we're on the way home from somewhere and we're all starving. And so we bought him these chips. And this was the first time he'd ever had deep fried, yucky, horrible chips. However, he ate it, but he remembered that. And so I remember it must have been either 6 months or a year later, quite a long time had passed, and we were driving past the KFC, and it was a different KFC, but he could smell it. And he was only small, this time maybe 3 or something like that, and he just had this total flip out in the car. So he was in the car seat and he's crying and he's, "Mummy, Chippy, Mummy, Chippy, Chippy, Chippy." And I was like, what is going on? And then when I thought about it, I remembered that maybe it was 6 months before he'd had these chips. And because of that strong drug addiction type chemical effect that the MSG has on the brain, this child could just smell it. I mean, the windows were shut, so this was coming in through the car windows, and we were just driving through. So this is how full on these chemicals are, and also how sensitive children can be. Now my son is a little bit more on the sensitive side, but it makes me think, wow, this food is so powerful. And it's been a blessing and a curse for us, because if he didn't have these reactions, I wouldn't know nearly as much as I do around food. What else have I got here? So I bought some organic rolled oats. So my boys love oats for breakfast. So I serve them up oats with rice milk, and I get some local honey, and I'll do either some rice milk, I'll do some organic berries or bananas or something else, just to make that a little bit more nutritious. But I quite like oats. I think they're way better than any of the other breakfast cereals out there, that's for sure. What else have I got? So I bought some coffee. Now, I love my morning coffee. However, I do only now buy organic coffee, and that's because I've learnt that a lot of the coffee beans are sprayed in glyphosate. So glyphosate is the active chemical in Roundup. It is used profusely in our environment. It is water soluble, and that just absolutely freaks me out, because the human body is over 70% water. So glyphosate is water soluble. Now, when it comes to the glyphosate argument, you're going to find that the government is still saying it's perfectly safe. But if you talk to organic farmers, you talk to mums that have got sick children, and as far as I'm concerned, nobody knows a child better than the child's mother, not even the doctor. The mothers are the ones that know what's going on with their children. Um, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, so about glyphosate. So our government is still saying that it's safe. However, there is so many scientists, researchers, and other countries now that are banning it and saying that it's absolutely terrible. So for me, I'm believing the people that I'm listening to, and that is Dr. Zach Bush, Stephanie Seneff, Dr. Pompa, Dr. McCullough. Now, these guys are people that dedicated their whole lives, or their current life now, to delivering this message to the world. I think that there is way too many chemicals in our environment, and I do think that it's affecting our health, because we're going against nature. This is not what nature wanted us to do. We're ruining the soil, we're killing everything. Like, if you spray your soil in Roundup or glyphosate or any of its brothers or sisters, you're killing the earthworms. So one application of that kills more than half of the earthworms. Like, does that even make sense? There's a brilliant documentary out at the moment called 2040, and I've got the book here. I'll just quickly show you. Now, this is also in a documentary, brilliant. I would recommend that everybody watch this and get the book, and I just got this in Big W. But in terms of the glyphosate and the worms, there was a couple there that were farmers. They were commercial farmers, and they were talking about, one day the son said to the dad, "Hey Dad, let's go fishing." So the father goes, "Yeah, son, sounds like a great idea." So he goes out to the farm and he starts looking for some worms. So he's digging up all this soil and he cannot find a single worm. And he had, like, don't quote me on this, but a lot of acres, whether it was 50 or 100, but there should have been worms there. And so he was like, what is going on? How come we don't have any worms in our soil? And this is where he put two and two together and realised that it was all the sprays that they had been using that was not only killing the soil, but killing the life under the soil. So there's a whole ecology and system under the soil. Like, it's so important what we're doing to this soil. It's so important where our food comes from. And that was the turning point for him and his wife, and they then got into regenerative agriculture. So that's an amazing story. And they're now out in the world talking about glyphosate and the effects that it has on our food and our environment. So that's awesome. So that's the 2040. I know I'm sort of chopping and changing here everywhere, but I hope I'm giving you some information that's going to help you to make better choices. What else have I got here? So this is an organic muesli. Now I love this muesli, and it's nut free. However, it's got a lot of sultanas in it, but at least they don't have any preservatives in it. So they don't have that 220, which is sulfur dioxide. So you'll find that a lot of the dried fruits in the supermarket have sulfur dioxide 220, and that is not something that you really want to be eating. And so what I like about this is that it's organic and there's no sprays or chemicals on this. However, there's a lot of sultanas. So I put some other oats in this so it's not so sweet, because I noticed my little son, he loves his sweet, and every time I look at him, he'll be snacking on this, and I think it's just because he wants the sugar hit. So I'm onto that now, and so I'm making it a little bit less sweet. I also found this organic cacao. So look, there is some, amazing products coming out in the health section of the supermarket. So I'm by no means bagging everything. I'm just saying that we do need to read labels, and we need to be very careful that we're not putting too much crap in the trolley. So this one's certified organic, and it's just organic cacao powder. So my boys love a hot chocolate, and how I make a hot chocolate is 1 teaspoon of the cacao powder and 1 teaspoon of honey, or 1 teaspoon of organic sugar. So it's like 50-50. And if you look at any of the hot chocolate blends in the supermarket, there's an organic one there, and you'll see it's 50% cacao and it's 50% sugar. Any of the other ones have got a whole myriad of other crap in it. This is way better than Milo. So how Milo can be marketed as a sports drink is beyond me. There is nothing sporty or healthy about Milo. It is absolute crap. It really is. But they've spent, Nestle is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they've spent so much money on marketing that rubbish that everyone thinks that it's actually good for you, but it really is not. And I used to have a lot of that when I was a child, and it's really terrible. My children have never had Milo, and they never will, as far as I'm concerned. And if I've got anything to do with it, that is, because I know when I'm a teenager, when they're teenagers, they're just going to do what they want. So what else have I got here? So organic apples. Now, I really did not want to buy these today because I prefer to get all my fruits and veggies from the farmer's market, and I've got some organic farmers there that I like to buy off, but my kids need a fruit break, so I just had to buy these. Look, these are the best apples I can find in the supermarket. I think they're about $7. They're certified organic, so they know that they haven't been gas ripened. I know that they haven't been fumigated with any of the other crap that they put on the apples. Like, I don't know if you know this, but apples can sometimes be stored for up to a year. So they're picked when they're not ripe, and then they're kept in cold storage, and there's all kinds of things going on. They're sprayed with a fungicide before and after. And really, the freshest, best apple for your body is the one that you pick straight off the tree. So at least if it's organic, it's not as old and it's the best quality you can buy. But I would prefer to buy them from the markets off the local apple grower, because I know of the integrity and the apples are way better. What I don't like about this is the plastic. But like I say, I needed to buy apples, so I just had to make the best choice on the spot. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. I'm going to do a lot of these short videos, and they're really just aimed at education, guys. I'm not here to upset anybody. And I know, look, sometimes this can rub you the wrong way because you just cannot understand or believe that this is going on in our food system. But trust me, it is. So thanks for listening, guys, and pass this on to all your friends. Everybody needs to know this information, and we can change this by our consumerism, so our consumer habits. So whatever we're buying, we're voting for it. So if you don't want your kids to be, having soft drinks and eating crap, we've really got to just stop buying it, because we're voting with our dollar. And look, these problems are so beyond the government. The companies that are responsible for a lot of our food chain, they are way more powerful than what the government will ever be. We need a grassroots movement to change this, and it's our consumer habits and decisions that will change this. So let's all try and buy a little bit healthier every time we go to the supermarket. And look, you just get better and better and better. I would actually love to cut out the supermarket altogether, but I still have not worked out how to do that, because there's things there that I need. But certainly trying to go to the farmer's market once a week is ensuring that your family gets the best quality food. So thanks again for listening. Love and veggies, Jolene. Have a great day, guys. Bye.